First of all, read the assignment instructions for weekly discussion assignments. This is what you'll have to do. You'll create videos, short videos, so don't worry. You'll describe what you've learned, how you can apply it, what it reminds you of if you know other programming languages, how it fits in your world, how it reminds you of driving in the car, whatever you want. Just make it intelligent, professional, and give us your own viewpoint of what you've read and how you've absorbed it. This is meant to be fun because we all think differently, so have fun with it, but be professional as well. The easiest of the semester, and maybe the silliest. So, I want you to create a Python script. Again, in Spyder, you're going to be working on the left side. You're going to create a file with lines of code. That's called a script. You're going to ask a user for their first name and store the input in a variable. Ask a user for their last name. Store the input in a variable. It's ask. 9 asks. You're going to store all the input in variables. So right away, if you've never programmed before, you got to think this is pretty cool. The program will remember what we tell it, as long as we do it the proper way. So we're going to ask someone, which will probably be you as you test your program, but it could be anyone. We're going to ask them for all these inputs. We're going to store whatever they type in a variable. Finally, in number 10, we're going to then output all those things that they input. We're going to output at those values as a short story using print. These are all things we went over in this lecture. You should feel comfortable doing this. All you have to do is follow along this lecture and you'll see how to do all of this. The fun thing is, the story can be whatever the heck you want it to be. Make it crazy, wonky, whatever. Just don't make it, a whole 500 words long. I have to grade these. I have to run them. I like to be amused by what you come up with, but, don't make me read too much. Come on. Number 11, you get extra points if you can figure out how to determine how old the user is based on the year they gave you. And if you give me a new line between the last question that's asked, which is ask the user for an action verb, and the paragraph you output. Now, don't tell others how you do it. For exercises and assignments, when you're working alone, please don't share the answers with anyone else on the discussion board or via email. Let them learn it for themselves. You can give them hints, but please don't give them the answers. What I'll expect you'll turn in a file with the code, that it'll work. I can load it into my Spyder, it'll run. And I'll fill out all the little inputs, and it'll give me a funny story. I expect when I look at the code itself that it's commented. I expect that you're going to be consistent in the way that you name variables and you use quotations. I expect you to test the code before you submit it. Don't wait till the last minute. Submit the code and say, oh man, I wish I would have tested that because now it doesn't work at all. If you do that, I'm going to take off a bunch of points because you guys are adults. We're grad students. I expect you to test what you create. And remember, with this assignment, copy and paste is your friend. Just like in a Word document, if you're writing similar things over and over and over, you might want to copy and paste. Now, I've given you a hint because, again, this is the easiest assignment of the semester. Based on my requirements on the screen, you'll see that I expect you to have 9 different variables, 9 uses of the input function, at least 1 use of the print function, and maybe, if you're lucky and want extra points and can figure it out, some math and an additional variable. Remember, when we learned about the input, what does the input do? It gives you a string. No matter what the person enters, it converts it into a string. So remember that. That's a big hint. And then also, this is something you got to figure out on yourself. How do you combine strings for our story to print? How can you figure out the age? These are things that you need to figure out on your own. I've given you all the mechanisms to create the basics. You need to figure out how to put it all together. This makes it fun. So if you don't believe that I can do it, I can show you on this final slide the working version. So I ran the file that I have on my computer. First it says, tell me your first name. I entered Elvis. Tell me your last name, Presley. Address, 123 Jailbird Way. City, Memphis. State, Tennessee. Zip code, made up, 12345. The year that Elvis was born, 1935. A friend's name, Johnny Cash. An action verb, rocked. What do I print out after all this? I print out my day one journal entry. Notice that there's a space between that last question and the start of my quote-unquote journal entry. Space, my day one journal entry, space. One day I was walking along and I ran into Elvis Presley. And we started talking about his old house at 123 Jailbird Way, Memphis in Tennessee. And we talked about living in the 12345 area and how we both knew Johnny Cash. I can't believe that Elvis is 82 years old. It was fun seeing Elvis and talking. We said goodbye and then Elvis rocked. So I took whatever I had from the user, I put it into this fun little journal entry, and I output it for them. This is what I want you to do. Good luck.